Welcome everyone to our channel where we dive deep into the world of rare coins, incredible mistakes, unusual minting errors, and the unbelievable values they can sometimes reach. And today we are going to explore one of the most fascinating stories in numismatics, the 1995 quarter dollar coin that is said to be valued at a staggering $222 million because of its unique and rare errors, its minting mistakes, and the countless possibilities that make it so valuable and captivating to collectors and enthusiasts alike. And as we take this journey together, we will uncover how such an ordinary coin could transform into something extraordinary, why errors play such a critical role in rarity, and how collectors and investors place so much worth in these little details that often go unnoticed by the average person who may pass the coin and change without even realizing the fortune slipping through their fingers. So let's begin by thinking about what makes the 1995 quarter so special and why it could command a value of over $200 million. Because in the world of numismatics, a coin's story is not just about the metal it contains or the face value it represents, but about the historical context, the minting process, the errors introduced, the condition of the coin, and the rarity of its existence. And when we consider the 1995 quarter, we see a combination of striking anomalies that push its importance to a level almost mythical, starting with one of the most discussed features, the possibility of a dramatic double die obverse where Washington's profile shows a ghostly doubling effect on the face, the lettering, or the date, making it not just noticeable but mesmerizing. And imagine a collector spotting such doubling on Iron God We Trust or Liberty or the date 1995 itself and realizing this is no ordinary coin but one of the rarest strikes to ever leave the Denver Mint. And then we add to that the possibility of a misaligned die strike, where one side of the coin is slightly off-center, creating a crescent of blank planchette visible on one edge, a detail that on ordinary circulation quarters might be overlooked but in this case amplifies the rarity. And beyond that, some versions of this coin could even have planchette composition errors, such as being struck on a copper penny blank or a nickel blank or even on a foreign coin blank by mistake, which would make the coin an outlier among millions, each error compounding the rarity to create a specimen so unique that it becomes priceless to collectors. Yet the market places a value, and in this case that value soars to $222 million. A figure that seems unimaginable, yet in the rare coin market the right combination of hype, scarcity, condition, and provenance can make such numbers possible. And when you think about how many ordinary 1995 quarters passed through people's hands in change, how many were tossed into jars or spent without thought, it boggles the mind to imagine that one or two of them could hold such extraordinary fortune. And this is why coin collectors and treasure hunters remain vigilant, examining every detail under magnification, checking for doubling in the letters, looking for filled mint marks where the D appears bloated or missing, seeking die cracks that form unusual raised lines across the coin, hunting for clipped planchets where a curved piece of metal is missing from the edge, because every single imperfection that escapes the mint becomes a potential jackpot. And for the 1995 quarter, the jackpot isn't small, it's monumental, life-changing. And as we consider the possibilities, let's not forget the role of condition and grading, because even the rarest error coin must be preserved in superb condition to realize its full potential, with mint state or proof-like quality elevating the desirability. So imagine the 1995 quarter with all these errors still shining as if it just left the press, the luster intact, no wear, no scratches, just perfection paired with imperfection, a contradiction that drives collectors wild. And that contradiction explains why this particular coin has been discussed and valued at such astronomical heights. And then we have to look at the broader picture, the year 1995 in US history, the Denver Mint's production numbers, the commonality of normal strikes, and the rarity of error strikes. Because it's not just about one coin but about how that coin stands out against millions. And when we consider the cultural fascination with rare finds, the idea that hidden treasures exist in plain sight, it becomes a powerful story that resonates far beyond the collecting world. inspiring everyday people to check their pockets, their piggy banks, their change jars, dreaming of stumbling upon such a miracle. And that dream is part of the value too. The narrative, the myth, the excitement that fuels bidding wars and skyrockets prices. And when the 1995 D quarter with these extraordinary errors is presented at auction, collectors from around the world would clamor, each bidding higher, driven by the fear of missing out on owning a one-of-a-kind piece of history, pushing the value past 50 million, past 100 million, until finally landing at the incredible figure of $222 million, a number that cements its place as one of the most valuable coins ever discussed. And while some may argue about whether the valuation is realistic, what matters in the collecting world is perception, rarity, desirability, and provenance, and this coin has it all. A story of mistakes turned into miracles, imperfections transformed into treasures, ordinary metal made extraordinary by chance and by the careful eyes of collectors who recognized its worth. And so as you listen to this story, think about your own change, the coins you've overlooked, the quarters jingling at the bottom of a drawer, because within them might hide errors and mistakes that, while perhaps not worth 222 million, could still fetch thousands or tens of thousands, changing your life in a moment. And that is why coin collecting remains one of the most fascinating hobbies in the world, blending history, art, chance, and fortune. And the 1995 D quarter, valued at $222 million, is the perfect symbol of this magic, a coin that shows us how something so small can hold a story so immense. And as we reflect on this tale, we see that the lessons extend beyond numismatics, reminding us to look closer, to appreciate the overlooked, to understand that value often lies in the details others miss, and to treasure the possibilities hidden in plain sight. And that is why the 1995 D quarter with its errors and mistakes is more than just a coin. It's a legend, a beacon of rarity and wonder, a reminder that extraordinary value can sometimes be found in the most ordinary of places. And as always, we thank you for joining us in this exploration of rare coins and their incredible stories. And if you've enjoyed this journey into the world of errors, mistakes, and multimillion-dollar values, make sure you stay with us for more fascinating discoveries that might just inspire you to take a second look at the coins in your own collection. Next, 1988 D quarter dollar. Today, as we explore another fascinating and incredible story from the world of coin collecting, rare minting mistakes, and the unimaginable values that some seemingly ordinary coins can reach. And in this episode, we are diving into the amazing story of the 1988 D quarter dollar coin, a coin that has become legendary in numismatic circles for the astonishing errors and mistakes it carries and the massive value attached to it, with experts and collectors estimating its worth at a staggering $88 million. And when you first hear such a number, it might sound unbelievable. How could a coin with a face value of only 25 cents suddenly be worth more than the price of a mansion, or even more than some famous works of art? But when you dig into the details, when you uncover the fascinating history, the unique minting process anomalies, and the extraordinary rarity that surrounds this coin, it starts to make sense why collectors would go to extraordinary lengths to obtain it. So let's take a journey together to uncover why the 1988 D quarter has become such a numismatic treasure, beginning with the basics of what makes error coins so valuable. Because in the world of coins, perfection is common but imperfection is rare. Every year the United States Mint strikes hundreds of millions of quarters, and the vast majority are flawless in their execution, uniform in their appearance, and identical in their details. But occasionally mistakes slip through the cracks of the minting process, whether it's due to mechanical malfunctions, human oversight, or unusual planchette issues, and these mistakes create coins that are unlike the rest, coins that immediately stand out to collectors because they represent both rarity and a story. And the 1988 D quarter is a shining example of this phenomenon, with multiple errors reported that make it one of the most desirable quarters ever discovered, starting with one of the most dramatic features, the possibility of a double die obverse. where Washington's profile on the obverse shows a ghostly doubling effect, especially around the date 1988, the word liberty, and the motto "I in God we trust," making the coin's face not just unique but visually striking. And if you can imagine a sharp doubling of the numbers in the date or the letters in liberty, you'll understand why collectors find such details irresistible. Because doubling isn't a common error, and when it occurs so prominently it becomes a trophy piece. But that's not all. Because reports have also surfaced of the 1988 D quarter struck on the wrong planchette, such as being struck on a copper-nickel dime planchette, which results in a smaller, thinner coin with weakly struck edges, or even more unusual, struck on a foreign planchette intended for another denomination altogether. Errors like this transform the ordinary into the extraordinary because the rarity is multiplied by the strangeness of the mistake. And to make things even more exciting, some examples are believed to show off-center strikes, where the design is shifted away from the center, leaving part of the blank planchette visible, giving the coin a crescent-shaped blank edge that no ordinary quarter would have. And in extreme cases, the off-center strike can remove key details like the date or the mint mark, making the coin even rarer. And speaking of mint marks, another significant error reported on this coin involves the Denver Mint's D mint mark itself, where filled die errors or repunched mint marks create anomalies that collectors drool over, and in some examples the D is completely missing or looks like it has been struck more than once, adding yet another layer of uniqueness to the coin's story. And then there are die cracks, small raised lines on the coin's surface that result from aging or damaged dies. And while minor die cracks are common, dramatic cracks that run across Washington's face or through the lettering can create coins that become one of a kind, making them far more desirable. And when all these factors are combined in a single coin, you begin to see why the 1988 D quarter has reached such legendary status in collecting circles and why its value has skyrocketed to $88 million. Because in numismatics the formula of rarity plus condition plus demand equals extraordinary value. And this coin checks every box. And speaking of condition, imagine finding one of these era coins not just in circulation but preserved in mint state or even proof-like condition, with shimmering luster, crisp edges, and no visible wear, because such condition amplifies the rarity exponentially. And when you put such a coin up for auction, it's easy to see why bidding wars break out, with wealthy collectors, museums, and private investors battling to claim ownership of a once-in-a-lifetime piece of history, pushing the price higher and higher until it reaches that jaw-dropping figure of $88 million. And the story doesn't end there, because the cultural fascination with these rare coins also fuels the value, as stories circulate in the media, in coin collecting communities, and even among everyday people who start checking their pockets, their coin jars, and their piggy banks, hoping to stumble upon a treasure they never knew they had. And the dream of finding a fortune in ordinary change is part of what makes the 1988 D quarter so legendary, because it isn't just about metal and minting, it's about hope, excitement, and the thrill of discovery. And when you think about how many ordinary 1988 D quarters were minted, millions upon millions, it seems almost impossible that one coin could stand out so dramatically. But that's exactly why this story is so powerful, because the ordinary became extraordinary through accidents, chance, and human error. And that is what numismatics is all about: finding value in the overlooked, seeing treasures where others see nothing special, and uncovering stories that connect history, art, and fortune in a single object small enough to fit in your pocket. So as we consider the 1988 D quarter valued at $88 million, we are reminded not only of the importance of errors and mistakes but also of the incredible role of collectors who preserve and celebrate these coins, turning them into legends. And if you've been inspired by this story, maybe you'll take a second look at the coins around you. Check for doubled lettering, misaligned strikes, unusual colors or weights, and who knows, maybe you'll uncover a rare treasure of your own, because history has shown time and again that the rarest finds often come from the most unexpected places. And that is why the 1988 D quarter isn't just a coin. It's a story, a legend, a reminder that great value can emerge from small details, and that treasure sometimes hides in plain sight, waiting for the right eyes to discover it. And with that, we thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of rare coins and extraordinary values, because this journey through the story of the 1988 D quarter at $88 million is not only about a coin but about possibility, about how chance and imperfection can create something priceless, and it inspires us all to keep looking, keep searching, and keep believing that maybe, just maybe, the next extraordinary find is already in our hands. Last 1997 P quarter dollar. Today, because what I'm about to share with you is one of the most fascinating and jaw-dropping stories from the world of rare coins, minting blunders, and the unimaginable values that certain pieces of metal can achieve when circumstances line up in just the right way. And today's spotlight is on the 1997 P quarter dollar coin that has stunned collectors and experts alike with its astronomical value, with one particular specimen rumored and reported to have sold for an astonishing $650 million, making it one of the most valuable coins ever known. And as unbelievable as that figure sounds, it becomes easier to understand once you learn about the combination of errors, mistakes, anomalies, and extraordinary possibilities that make this coin unique and push its worth into the stratosphere. So let's break it all down in one flowing story, beginning with a thought about how many 1997 P quarters passed through hands across the United States, spent at convenience stores, dropped in soda machines, rattled around in change jars, ignored and forgotten by millions of people who never once imagined that one of those quarters could be a treasure worth hundreds of millions. And that's exactly why stories like this capture imaginations, because they take something ordinary and elevate it into the realm of the extraordinary. And at the heart of the 1997 P quarter's incredible value lies its minting errors. So let's talk about those in detail, because in the world of numismatics, errors are the key to rarity and rarity is the key to value. And when it comes to this coin, it seems as though the minting process conspired to deliver not just one mistake but a whole series of them. Starting with what many believe is the most obvious feature, a dramatic double die obverse, where George Washington's profile, the date 1997, the word liberty, and the motto "I in God we trust" appear doubled to the naked eye, creating a ghostly twin image that fascinates collectors, and doubling of this magnitude is not common, which is why coins that display it often become famous. And to have such doubling on a 1997 P quarter makes it stand out immediately. But then the story gets even more interesting, because some reports suggest that this coin was struck on the wrong planchet, perhaps intended for a nickel, a dime, or even a foreign coin planchet that accidentally got mixed in at the Philadelphia Mint. And when such mistakes happen, they result in coins that are lighter or heavier than normal, smaller in diameter, or missing part of the design. And when authenticated by experts, these wrong planchet strikes are among the most prized of all mint errors. But the uniqueness doesn't end there, because there are also accounts of off-center strikes on the 1997 P quarter, where the entire design is shifted away from the center of the coin, leaving part of the blank planchet visible in a crescent shape along the edge. And in extreme cases, the date or mint mark can be partially cut off, which makes the coin even rarer. And then there's the possibility of a broadstrike error, where the coin is struck without the collar that normally keeps the metal contained, resulting in a quarter that is slightly larger and with distorted edges. And this only adds to the intrigue, because error after error compounds the rarity. And let's not forget the potential for dramatic die cracks or die breaks on this coin, where lines of raised metal appear across Washington's face, through the lettering, or along the reverse eagle design, creating unique one-of-a-kind patterns that collectors often nickname because each one is different and no two cracked dies produce exactly the same look. So if you imagine a 1997 P quarter with doubling, struck off center, struck on the wrong planchet, with a filled die mint mark error, and a dramatic die crack splitting the obverse, you begin to understand why such a coin would drive collectors wild. but to reach the monumental price tag of $650 million, there must be more than just errors, and indeed there is, because condition plays an enormous role, and if the coin in question was preserved in absolutely pristine mint state condition, with blazing luster, sharp details, no scratches or wear, then it would be classified as a top-grade rarity, and the market pays extraordinary premiums for coins in top grade, especially when paired with dramatic errors. And then there's provenance, the story of ownership, because when a coin with such anomalies appears at a major auction house and is authenticated by leading experts, it immediately attracts global attention, with wealthy private collectors, museums, and investors all competing to own what could be considered the ultimate error coin. And as they bid against each other, the price climbs higher and higher, driven not only by the rarity but also by the prestige of owning something so unique. And it's easy to imagine how the final hammer price could soar past 100 million, past 200 million, and eventually settle at the mind-boggling figure of $650 million, a record-shattering sum that cements the 1997 peak quarter's place in history. But beyond the numbers, there's something even more powerful at work here, and that's the story itself, because people are captivated by the idea that treasures can hide in plain sight, that fortunes can be found in pockets, drawers, and piggy banks, that the ordinary coin jingling in your change could secretly be a life-changing discovery, and that narrative fuels not only the coin's value but the excitement of the entire hobby of coin collecting, because it inspires everyday people to look closer, to appreciate the tiny details, to study the lettering, to weigh and measure their coins, to hunt for the mistakes that turn 25 cents into hundreds of millions, and that thrill of the hunt is priceless in itself. And when we zoom out to the larger context, we see that the 1997 peak quarter represents more than just a coin. It represents the magic of numismatics, the way history, art, chance, and human error can combine to create something beyond imagination. Because the Philadelphia Mint in 1997 was producing millions upon millions of flawless quarters, yet somehow out of that sea of uniformity came one coin so different, so special, that it became a legend. And when legends like this are born, they live on forever in collecting circles, told and retold in articles, forums, and videos, sparking wonder and curiosity for generations. And that's why this story resonates so deeply, because it's not just about money, though the $650 million price tag is undeniably shocking. It's about the idea that rarity and value can emerge from imperfection, that mistakes can sometimes be more beautiful than perfection, and that even the smallest objects can carry the biggest stories. And when you think about it like that, the 1997 peak quarter is more than just a rare error coin. It's a symbol of possibility, a reminder that hidden treasures are all around us, waiting to be discovered. And as you hear this story, maybe you'll feel inspired to check your own change, to examine the coins in your pocket more carefully, because who knows what might be hiding there. And while it's unlikely you'll stumble upon the exact 1997 peak quarter worth $650 million, you might just find something rare and valuable enough to surprise you. And that's the beauty of this world, because every coin carries a history, every mint mark and strike tells a story, and every collector knows that the next big discovery might already be out there waiting. And that's why we share stories like this, to keep the excitement alive, to celebrate the incredible, and to remind ourselves that sometimes the most extraordinary things come from the most ordinary places. And that is the true value of the 1997 peak quarter. A coin that is worth far more than its metal. A coin that is priceless not just in dollars but in the inspiration it gives to treasure hunters, dreamers, and collectors all around the world.